With Worm Trigger manga nearing the end of the away mission selection exam arc, having only the battle portion left, in which the B-rank squads participating will take on the A-rank squads in a 36-hour battle after 50 chapters of people sitting at a desk, which was actually a very interesting read, giving us insight into all the different characters we met during the course of the show and some completely new ones, planting seeds for their future development and possible roles in Border after half of their current battle force will leave to retrieve their abducted agents and civilians in the neighborhood. Some people found it a bit boring, so they can look forward to finally getting back to the fighting, for which I'm also excited, since no show can quench my thirst for complex tactical battles quite like Worm Trigger. Problem being that it's a monthly release, so it's gonna be a while till the selection exam is over. And like I said, the exam has already planted seeds for some future developments, so the slow pace of the chapters releasing has been looking to the future of the series after the exam, and I've been coming up with theories and ways the story could go, so I'd like to talk about them. I won't go super in depth with anything, since I'm not really a writer, so I'm not capable of fleshing things out as an accomplished author could, and I'll just cover the broad strokes of things I think will happen, or I'd like to see happen in the series in the future. And I won't speculate on the results of the A rank versus B rank battle part of the exam, because it could go in any direction at this point, so let's just work with the presumption that all the members of Squad Tamakoma 2 will get selected for the away mission and speculate who else will be joining and who will be staying. We know all the A rank agents have a guaranteed spot on the expedition, but I don't think they will all be going. For one, I think Arashiyama squad will remain in Mikado City, since they are the face of Border responsible for PR, and it wouldn't make sense to replace them with some new guys at this crucial time for Border, when they rely much on public perception, so making them stay could provide the civilians with some sense of stability. However, I think Kitora will join the expedition as a solo member from her squad, mainly because she was selected as one of the A-rank agents participating in the selection exam with the B-rank agents, which I think was to prepare her for the expedition, and her skills would make her an invaluable member on the away squad. Another A-rank agent I think will be staying is Kodera, who was also selected as a participant in the selection exam as Kitora, but unlike her he was picked as a captain, not a regular squad member. This tells me that the higher-ups at Border want to test his ability to lead so he could be appointed captain of a squad when the rest of the A-rank agents go on the away mission, so Border is not left completely defenseless. Similar to him, we also have Utagawa, who is a captain in the selection exam, but I'm still 50-50 on whether he'll stay, as I don't know how crucial the 3-man formation is to Kazama squad, as opposed to Miwa squad who has 2 snipers, so even if Kodera stays, they still have Narasaka, and that dude never misses, so Kodera's absence doesn't affect them as much. But I think if Kodera does end up staying, so will Utagawa. And it would be fun if one of them ends up being the captain to the C-rank idiot trio and manages to whip them into shape. And one other agent I'm on the fences with is Yuiga, who is a member of the number 1 ranked A-rank squad, simply because of his father being the biggest sponsor of Border, so I don't know how useful he would actually be in a crisis situation in the neighborhood, so he might end up staying as well. Or he would join the expedition as a comic relief character, which I'm not against. As for the B-rank agents, I think the only 2 squads that will have all members as part of the expedition are Ninomiya squad and Tamakoma 2, since they are considered as the A-rank for the purposes of the selection process, since they are the top 2 ranking squads in B-rank, and they both have similar motivations to go on the expedition, with Tamakoma 2 wanting to find Chika's brother and friend, Yuma wanting to find Replica, and Osamu wanting to help them in that task and to bring back the abducted agents and civilians, and Ninomiya squad wants to find Hatohara to confront her about her actions of going rogue and taking civilians to the neighborhood. As for the agents who will be selected to go without their squads, I have a couple of candidates. First is Ikoma. I think the higher-ups picked Mizukami to be a captain during the exam is because they want to take Ikoma on the expedition, and by doing so they are preparing Mizukami for the role of being a temporary captain for Ikoma squad in the meantime. And the most important reason for taking him is because he can cook.
Hold up, let me cook.
Next one is not a prediction, but a character I want to see more of, and that is Urushima, who was introduced at the start of the selection exam arc and is the captain and the only combatant of Urushima squad, and he still managed to have a spot in the middle B rank group at the end of the rank wars, so I'm very excited to see his abilities in the upcoming battle portion of the exam, and if he does well, maybe even as a member of the expedition. Then there is Emma, who wants to join the expedition to protect Chika and find his teacher, Hatohara, after hearing she is in the neighborhood from Ninomiya, who is his captain in the exam, which gave him more motivation to do better in the exam, so I believe he will get selected, as well as his actual squad captain Kageura. And I believe he will be selected because of his combat skills and his side effect that allows him to perceive other people's emotions, which would make him an excellent lookout, ensuring the expedition team is never caught by surprise. Another person with a useful side effect that would benefit the expedition is Sayoko Shiki, the operator of Nasu squad, who revealed to Yuma and Kotaro that she has a side effect that allows her to see things at a distance. She compared it to astral projection, and Yuma surmised she can extend a thin strand of Trion on the ground whose tip can detect light, allowing her to see from it, so it's the perfect side effect for scouting. And I don't think it's a coincidence her side effect was revealed a chapter or two after Border Command decided to allow operators to go in the field with the agents. Ashihara is definitely planting some seeds there. And speaking of useful side effects, another person I like to see go on the expedition is Amo, Border's S-rank agent, whose side effect allows him to see the strength of anyone using Trion as different colors, which would help greatly with threat assessment during the expedition. Also, we didn't see him in action to this day, and we only know his black trigger is very destructive and not something Border wants to show to civilians, so this expedition is a perfect excuse to finally show him in action. That's it for the agents, but I still have one other person I'd like to join the expedition, and it might be a long shot, but it's not impossible, and that is Border's commander Masamune Kido himself. Since this expedition will determine the future of Border, not just with the people of Earth, but also possible alliances with some planets from the neighborhood, like the one between the Tamakoma branch and Gallopola, it makes sense that its commander would be involved somehow. Plus, Commander Kido is at the top of the anti-neighbor faction, but he wasn't always like that. Having him go to the expedition would be a good opportunity to flesh out his backstory, to explain how he became so jaded, and maybe even rethink his views that all neighbors are bad. And with him and Shinoda, who is the leader of the expedition, gone, the one who will be put in charge is probably Rindo, since he's the next most senior member and has the most leadership experience from the remaining executives, being the head of Tamakoma branch and all. That's it for who I think will go on the away mission, so now let's talk about what might happen once they depart. First and foremost, I believe once they're on the ship, the leaders will reveal Hughes is a neighbor from Aftercrador who is serving as their guide on the journey, since I don't think they could hide it for long, as he would need to explain in detail how to proceed on a given planet for them to come by, so eventually the cat would be out of the bag, so better to just come out with it at the start. And most of the A-rank agents already know or suspect it, so it wouldn't come out as a big shock. Also, it might probably be a good idea to reveal Yuma is also a neighbor at that point. Then when they arrive at their first destination, nothing really serious happens. It would just be an opportunity to do some world building and showcasing Hughes' skill as a guide. The next big event that should happen on the expedition is encountering Chika's abducted childhood friend, and since just finding her and taking her with them would be boring, she can instead be introduced as an enemy trigger user. Yuma did mention that some abducted people who have high Trion value are used as soldiers in the neighbors' wars, so it would be nice to see that being paid off in this situation. And since she was kidnapped before Border was established, it's natural she wouldn't recognize them as people from her planet. They could have multiple run-ins with her and other trigger users from that nation, and only when she encounters Chika and recognizes her would she turn back to their side, or something like that. Next on my list of things I'd like to see is them getting to Gallopola and establishing an alliance with them, in which scenario Osamu would play a big role, since he is the liaison between them and the Tamakoma branch, and also Commander Kido would play a great part in the negotiations since he is the head of Border and it's ultimately his decision to ally with anyone. Ultimately, they do come to an agreement to ally themselves against Autocrator since it's their mutual enemy, with Gallopola being its vassal state which was forcibly annexed and Border having beef with them for abducting their people. They could even have Rata, aka the Crown Prince of Gallopola, accompany Border's expedition as a show of goodwill and guarantee they will fulfill their end of the deal. Next on the to-do list is the expedition meeting up with Chika's brother and Hatohara, which is what I'm personally most excited for. And in the scenario I came up with, they first find Hatohara, who tells them Chika's brother and some of their other comrades have been captured, so they have to save them. And the reason for their capture could be Hatohara's inability to shoot an enemy when she needed to, showing she still hasn't gotten over that flaw. And when they decide on the rescue team members, she wants to join them to help and make up for her mistake, but they don't want to take her because of her flaw, until she says she's staked out the place they are being held at and knows the guards' shift changes and their route patterns and the location of the prisoners, so Hughes, who is always the pragmatist and a member of the rescue team because of his knowledge of the land, agrees to take her because it's useful information. Some other members of the team are Kazama, Kikuchihara and Fuyushima, because it would be a stealth mission, and Chika would also be a member of the rescue team. After all, they are going to rescue her brother, so she would want to participate, and she also has useful skills for the mission. It would also give Chika and Hughes a chance to bond more during the mission, since I always thought they were a good duo, and it would give a chance for Hatohara to interact with Chika, another sniper who was unable to shoot people, so they could offer some advice to one another. And when they manage to free the prisoners, they are bound to get discovered and found by the enemy, so Chika would shoot them with the lightning and lead bullet combo that Hatohara came up with, since they don't want to kill anyone to avoid getting retaliated on later. So Hatohara could see her methods have some benefits to them, which would give her a confidence boost. But she realizes she still needs to get over her flaw to not allow another such situation to occur. And it could be paid off later by having her shoot someone to protect one of her teammates, or Emma, her student. And like that, Chika's brother is saved, they have a heartfelt reunion, and they are taken back to the expedition ship and are interrogated for their reason to go to the neighborhood and their stay there. And perhaps they uncovered some useful information that will come in handy later. Next on my away mission bucket list is that they visited the planet Yuma was on with his father when he died. And let's say they are under attack from the same enemy they were battling against when Yuma was there, since they got encouraged with Yuma's absence after a while, and on Yuma's advice they helped them to repel the attack. Yuma reunites with Raymond, the military commander, and his kids, and acts as an intermediary between them and Border. Border agrees to help them fend off the enemy, and in return they will help them on their mission when needed. This could also be an opportunity to show Osamu's tactical genius by having him come up with a defense plan, and Yuma could come in contact with the black trigger user that killed him and get some payback. After all that, they will finally get to Autocrator, where some internal conflict between the noble houses is brewing since no one managed to find a suitable god candidate, and word of Hyrin wanting to use Hughes' master as the god has reached the other nobles, so they are trying to prevent that so he wouldn't get more power. In the meantime, the expedition is taking shelter with Hughes' master after Hughes asks him to give them refuge and saying they only want to retrieve their abducted agents so they won't cause any other disturbances. Hughes also warns his master about the plan to turn him into Autocrator's god, but he dismisses it, saying he's willing to go through with it for the sake of their planet, which is my perceived impression on how he would act based on how other people described him. After a while, they get discovered, and Hyren learns Chika is there, so he tries to capture her to make her god like he tried to before. But the other noble houses also get wind of it, and it turns into a giant squabble. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Border faces another invasion, either from another Autocrator expedition or some other nation that they passed through. So knowing that their top agents are away, they storm their headquarters. So our heroes are facing some dire situations on both ends, which is when they call for backup from their new allies, with Galopolat coming to help them in Autocrator and Raymond and his posse coming to defend the Border HQ. Hopefully we also get a Yuma vs Visa rematch, this time with Replica at Yuma's side, after he finds him in Autocrator. Also, Hughes vs Hyrin would be hyped to see, as well as Shinoda and the gang against a new user of Enedora's Black Trigger. And of course, since it's the final war arc of the show, someone has to die. Hey, I don't make the rules, it's just how it is. And I think the most likely candidate for this is Commander Kido, with him sacrificing himself to protect Osamu, who earned his respect on the expedition, and there have been many parallels drawn between them during the show, so this would be sort of a passing of the torch moment for them, and what leads Osamu on the path to becoming the new commander of Border in the future. Also, Kido could make a black trigger for Osamu in his final moments that would give him some boost in abilities, like some fans have been asking for some time. Not anything too broken, just enough to turn the tide of battle in their favor. Perhaps it could be a glasses trigger holder, like it was foreshadowed all the way back. Ultimately, they defeat Autocrator and the nation invading Earth, but Autocrator's god starts dying, so Hughes' master decides to become the new god to save Autocrator, and he makes Hughes the new head of the house, in a touching scene that pulls on the heartstrings. And so Autocrator is defeated, Galopola wins its independence, there is a regime change, Border rounds up all the kidnapped agents, pack their bags and is ready to leave, but not before Hughes says goodbyes to his teammates, and they promise to always help each other when they need it, and everyone lives happily ever after. Or that's at least what I think will happen. How about you? Do you think any of this sounds plausible, or have I been snorting too much glue and my brain is rotting? Be sure to let me know, and as always, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye!